Hi everyone, I'm Andrea, but people here call me Feifei. Please like and subscribe. My life was extra special because I had two home countries. Even though I was born in China, during our trip to America when I was 7, I got lost from my family. At first, I was really scared and lonely, but the more time I spent in the orphanage, the stronger and more independent I became. It seemed like this place was filled with my greatest childhood memories. Life went on just fine until I was 15. A miracle happened.
Feifei, Daddy finally found you!
I didn't fully understand how, but tears started streaming down my face. Dad didn't change one bit, but my mom had passed away. So I was introduced to my stepmom, May.
Our families finally reunited. Let's get back to China.
I sadly waved my friends goodbye and returned to my home country. We, the Li family, came from a long line of pottery makers, and this is the 5th generation. Dad said that before his grandparents took their last breath, their dying wish was to preserve the family craft. And as the only granddaughter of the family, I carried the noble responsibility of inheriting this pottery shop.
I believe in you. Make us proud.
While I was still processing everything, my parents already dragged me to my relative's house for a meet and greet. There must have been 20 people here, and I had to memorize all their names? Grandpa Zhu, Grandma Lian, Uncle Tang, and Aunt Hua? Luckily, I still remembered some simple phrases from my childhood and greeted them with my broken Chinese. Then, I heard them talking about a robbery at my house a couple days ago. Dad got a big order to polish 12 vases for the Ming Dynasty, but they were nowhere to be found all of a sudden. The customer wanted to press charges, causing a big trouble for our family. The police were involved, but since all cameras were smashed, it was impossible to find the culprit. The detective in me was woken up, so I ran to where my aunts were to eavesdrop. But before I could ask anything, Dad came and dragged me away.
It's none of your business, kiddo. Even if the police couldn't solve it yet. Focus on learning the trade.
A few days later, I started school, and boy, I thought I was smart, but Chinese characters defeated me. For crying out loud, those dancing letters and accents gave me a nightmare, and I was even reprimanded for using English in class. That's not all. Classes were followed immediately by ceramic lessons. Watching ceramic tutorials was fun, but practicing was a hard slap of reality. The more I practiced throwing clay, the more stupid shapes I created. Ugh, and there's clay all over my face and shirt. Clumsy me. Frustrated, I angrily yeeted a piece of clay across the room, then saw Dad glaring at me with his face darkened. Feifei just came here. She can't possibly learn that quickly. Give her some time. But Dad coldly dragged me to the ceramic gallery.
You know, pottery is about pouring souls into lifeless clay. Your great-grandfather used to make ceramics for the palace during the Qing dynasty. In wartime, the whole workshop was bombed, but your great-grandparents saved the most precious vases while fleeing the enemy till they died.
Dad's words made me realize how hasty and incompetent I was. I had to change. Then Dad introduced me to a guy.
This is Cody, my best apprentice, aka pottery prodigy. He'll be your teacher.
Cody's American, so communication was much easier. He's a great teacher who would always patiently fix my work to perfection, despite how many times I messed up. Cody's also friendly and easy to talk to. Some days our deep talks lasted until dawn. One time, while I was preparing the kiln, I accidentally found this half-burnt piece of paper in the corner. It looked not so normal because there was some handwriting that seemed important on it. I showed Cody and he said it could be a Chinese poem, but I couldn't figure out its meaning since most of it was lost. Dad said it was nonsense while my stepmom shook her head in confusion, but it somehow still bothered me, so I kept studying it for a few nights, and I might have found a clue that could lead to the mysterious missing 12 vases. But that wasn't enough, so I decided to put it aside for now. Back to my daily routine. I was showered in my neighbors' and relatives' care. A bit too much. They always urged me to get married. When I was your age, I had 2 children already. But I'm not even 18 yet. Worse, they even sent some suitors to my house.
I've got a gift for you for our first meeting. This chicken lays a lot of eggs. If you marry me, your life will be full of roses. I only have one small request. My family wants many children, so we'll need to have 5 sons, 3 daughters, and a pair of twins.
They got me dizzy, so I sneaked out the back door to avoid running into another lunatic. The countryside sunset looked so peaceful.
Wow, didn't expect such strong pipes from a tiny body.
Creepy much? I turned to leave, but suddenly that guy grabbed my ponytail and pulled out my hair tie. I was gonna teach this jerk a lesson, but he somehow dodged every blow. Stand still so I could hit you.
Give me a kiss, then I'll give it back.
You wish? What a psycho! But somehow, now I and this psycho became friends, and we even got closer and closer after seeing each other every day at school. I realized Kai wasn't as annoying as I thought, and even grew sympathy for him when I learned that he also lost his mother when he was little. As his father was busy running his business, Kai was always unhappy and lonely. Now that he had my company, he cheered me up whenever I was sad, and frustrated about not getting better at pottery. However, Cody didn't seem too pleased with this. He appeared out of nowhere and dragged me away. "Faye, that guy is a notorious lady killer. Stay away from him." He seems like just a regular dude to me. Okay, to tell you the truth, that guy is from the Wen family, our lifelong nemesis. If your dad knew about this, you're done. I'm a bit concerned, but life isn't a revenge drama. No one can stop me from seeing someone because of some familial feud. Still, I guess I should be careful. Hey, what you hiding? Faye likes a free spirit. A boring guy only plays with clay all day. No chance. Well, I think an innocent girl like Faye needs a calm, mature, and collected guy. Not some free-spirited, spoiled rich boy who only knows how to spend his parents' money. Every time this happened, I had to throw myself in between them and push them apart. One day, my stepmom caught me coming home after going out with Kai. I panicked and didn't know how to explain, but don't worry, your secret's safe with me. You're stressed out enough. Then she called me in for a deep talk. She apologized for not giving me enough care and kindly asked if I had any difficulties since returning home. Actually, I like pottery, but I haven't improved no matter how hard I worked. The responsibility on my shoulders is so big that it pulls me down. I tried to put up a smile, but there were times that I felt suffocated. Don't push yourself too hard. If it's all too much, take a break and go back to America for a while. A healthy mind comes first and foremost. I'm so lucky to have an understanding stepmother. As soon as she left, Cody stepped out.
I didn't know you were under so much pressure. Don't worry, there are other ways to help your family besides making good pottery. You're smart. I know you can do it.
So, I started to practice performing tricks with ceramic vases, then set up a TikTok account to upload videos of my performances. They went viral in only a few weeks, gathering millions of views and propelled the pottery shop to fame. And with that, the number of orders grew rapidly. The national pottery competition was coming. My dad excitedly announced that it was a huge opportunity for our family. Our core team worked day and night to create a unique design that would make an impact. The big day finally arrived, and I was tasked with carrying the vase to the exhibition area. I was so excited to be there, but a stranger suddenly bumped into me, leaving me in shock for a few seconds. Oh my god, the vase! Panicked, I hurriedly checked, and luckily, it's okay. Whew, that was close. The competition officially began. I checked out the other displays. They all looked splendid, but the Wen's family vase literally shocked me to my core. It looked exactly like ours. I went straight there to confront them. This is clearly my family's design. You shameless thieves!
Watch your mouth, little girl. And you, keep an eye on your daughter. Don't let her bring shame to your family. Don't tell me how to raise my child. And the vase? The thief will soon be exposed. Come on, Faye.
I knew the design can be copied, but not the material. It's made with our family's secret technique. We had a special substance that made ceramics more durable. Now we just need a little luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner impressed us with its one-of-a-kind design and outstanding quality. The first prize goes to Wen family! However, we also found out one team's product is made with substandard material and under-fired. The judges also suspect them of plagiarizing the Wen's design. We can't accept such disrespect to the craft. Lee family, you're disqualified from this competition.
Before we could recover from the shock, the news already spread like wildfire. Kai tried to explain that he had nothing to do with this, but I didn't want anything to do with him anymore. The Wen family must have made a copy of our vase and swapped it with ours. But when? It's with me the whole time. It could only be... Our business took a nosedive. Orders were canceled, most staff quit, and worse still, everyone here suspected that I swapped the vases since some of them saw me with Kai. My dad didn't take that news so well. He had a stroke and was hospitalized ASAP. No, I had to find out the truth, no matter what. Only 3 people knew the design: Dad, Cody, and me. Right, Cody would know what to do now. Unfortunately, he took some days off to take care of his sick mom, so I decided to come to him again. He'd gone shopping, so his mom welcomed me. Thank you for giving my son a chance and paying him handsomely. Without the money, I might not even be here anymore. Money? What money? My son spent sleepless nights for months to complete your vase. Isn't that why you paid him that well? What? We'd never made Cody work overtime. What money is she talking about? Right then, Cody got home. I immediately confronted him. He denied everything at first, but then he had to give in. Who hired you? Really, I don't know. They texted me from a blocked number, then wire transferred me the money. Faye, my mom's really sick and I had no choice. I never expect such terrible consequences. I'm so sorry, Faye. I ran away ASAP. I can't hear another word. The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemy. When I got home, my stepmom was cooking. Oh my, you look pale. Poor sweetie. I couldn't help but leaped into her arms and burst into tears. She tried to calm me down before bringing Dad his food. I know I cannot be weak anymore. I'll find out who's behind all this, whatever it takes. I rummaged through the workshop until late, only to find nothing. Exhausted, I went to sit by the gate for some fresh air, and suddenly saw something in the bush. An envelope! Looks fishy. To not leave any trace, I opened it with steam instead of tearing. It's a Chinese poem, and had the same style as the one I found the other day. By reading the first letter in each line, I got this message. Yo, Chang, Jian, Mian. Meet at the oil factory, it is. The message coded in the other poem also referred to a place. It's gotta be a sketchy meeting to have its spot written in code like that. I quickly put the letter back and searched for the only oil factory in town, then followed the address to an abandoned factory. I ran straight inside, but it was totally empty. Was I wrong? I felt defeated and was about to leave when I suddenly heard a voice from the second floor. I crept up and saw Kai's father with a gang wearing black, and our 12 stolen vases! Right then, a hand patted on my shoulder. What you doing? I turned around to see a creepy face, then pitch black. I opened my eyes with a splitting headache, and my hands all tied up. Who's this? My stepmother, who's arm in arm with Kai's father? Already awake? You're on their side? My father didn't mistreat you. This is how you return the favor?
I've had enough of your old man, a tyrant and self-proclaimed smart man. I deserve someone who loves and pampers me, like Mr. Wen here. If your father had been truly smart, he would have realized long ago that he had nurtured a serpent in his bosom. That Cody boy.
Just wait and see. I will expose your scheming. Ha! In your dream? I already bought a plane ticket back to America. Be prepared to be welcomed by another orphanage. I even wrote your old man a touching welfare letter. He'll definitely have another stroke once he reads it. The secret letter has exposed you, and other evidence will soon be found. You can't get away with this. Do you mean this, feisty girl? In fact, what letter? Just then, the wind blew and swept the burning letter to some old oil containers at the corner, setting it aflame. The fire spread with lightning speed. They all ran for their life, leaving me behind. The smoke was thick, stinging my eyes. I was about to faint when Cody kicked the door open, dashed in, and untied me, while Kai covered me with his jacket. You? There's no time! Run! Then quickly carried me away from the fire. When we got to safety, the entire factory exploded. Okay, can you two explain everything now?
I felt guilty about the pottery competition, so I secretly followed my father to find out the truth for you. I came to your house to apologize, but saw you rushing somewhere looking worried. That's why I decided to follow you, and I can't believe that the person hiring me is your stepmother.
Me neither. Anyway, thanks. But I'm still mad at you.
Are you okay now?
I'm fine. I'm not sure about them, though. Animators, please replay the previous scene. Yep, I managed to record everything. With this priceless evidence, of course my so-called stepmother and Wen had to plead guilty and go to prison. My father was discharged from the hospital, and our 12 ceramic vases were returned. Now that our family's name's cleared, business is booming. After this incident, I learned to cherish our pottery workshop more. Determined to continue my family business, I started learning pottery properly to prepare for next year's competition. Root for me, peeps! And, of course, I still have these two guys by my side. Only it looks like they no longer want to just be friends with me. What should I do? Please help me by commenting down below if you're hashtag Team Kai or hashtag Team Cody.
Scott, I said it's over. You're just too immature for me. He gave me a quizzing look, then said, Huh? What? Babe, we're great together. I rolled my eyes. I just figured I don't need to be with someone with such a childish mentality. I need someone mature and, whatever, Linda, find me when you change your mind. he grunted. Then he put his earphones in and walked off. Well, at 15, I needed a guy with a certain maturity, not some loser who still found fart jokes funny. Please. My friends, Patty and Louise, agreed with me. I'm far too popular, pretty, and confident to date just anyone. Anyway, as luck should happen, I was walking along the school corridor when I saw this lost-looking but amazingly handsome guy. Flicking out my hair, I approached him with my friendliest voice. "Hey, are you okay?" Flustered, he replied, "Yes, which way is it to the principal's office?" "I'm going that way anyway, so I'll show you." This was a blatant lie, as my class was in the other direction, but he didn't know that. Later that day, I walked into physics class with Lewis and stopped dead. Standing at the front of the class was that handsome guy. It turns out he was the substitute teacher, and written on the board behind him was the name Mr. Hulton. "My first name is Colin, by the way," he smiled. I whispered to Lewis, "Seems like science class has heated up." Then I walked over to my seat. There's no way I could concentrate on the density of materials, not with the hottest teacher ever sharing the same airspace as me. I needed to find a way to get to know him and show him that I wasn't like the other girls my age. Instead, I was far more mature and self-assured than them. So, at the end of class, I walked over and asked him if he'd go over a few things with me. He gladly agreed, so I got to sit down next to him and daydreamed in the scent of his musky cologne. Physics class became my favorite. With my head in my hands, I watched him address the class. He saw me looking at him a few times, but he always quickly looked away. It's okay. I got it. He was just trying to look professional. Then, one time he asked the question, "According to Einstein, is light a partial or a wave?" I stuck my hand in the air and grinned. He looked a little flustered. "Linda?" I puckered my lips and looked straight at him. "That shirt color really suits you, sir. It brings out your eyes." Some of the other kids in class laughed, and he awkwardly fiddled with his collar. So cute! Then he coughed and said, "Linda, do you know the answer?" "Oh, what was the question again?" I stared dreamily at him. Honestly, I couldn't remember anything afterwards but his charmingly severe look. Then one afternoon, Colin asked me to stay behind after class. Result, he must have fallen for this Linda's irresistible charms. Didn't he? I shyly stood before him, and in a serious tone he said, "Linda, is everything okay with you? You seem off lately." "No, sorry, it's awful." I glumly looked down at my feet and took a few seconds to continue. "My family is so poor, and my home life is just horrible. I only have nice things because my friends lend me stuff." His gaze softened. I pretended to dab at my fake tears. "Please, don't tell anyone. I couldn't cope with the shame. It's enough just having you to talk to." I smiled at him. "Yeah, sure." He looked at me gently and said, "Anytime." Oh my. His eyes were so big and blue and I could drown in them. He obviously liked me too. He just couldn't do anything about it yet, as he was nervous. With him being my teacher and all. But soon he'd realize that me and him were so meant to be. Like Ariana Grande and Dalton Gomez. I continued to stay behind after classes so I could talk to Colin about my make-believe terrible home life. He always listened and told me it'd be okay. He was so sweet and sensitive. Then one time, I left Colin's classroom to find Scott there, waiting for me. Ugh. I told him to go away and started walking, but he followed me. "So what? You're into old men now?" "What?" I glared at him. "Yeah, I'm not stupid. I know you like Mr. Hulton. You need to snap out of that dreamland and see he's on a different level to you." Angered by this, I looked him square in the eye and snidely replied, "No, Scott, you're the one on a different level to me. About 50 levels down, to be precise." I gave the thumbs down sign. He looked wounded as he turned his back to me and started walking off. He had it coming. I walked outside to see Scott lingering around, talking to Patty and Lewis. They didn't see me, so I overheard Scott say, "She can't see how tragic she's being." "You know her. She's so stubborn. Of course. Mr. Halton doesn't like her in that way. Ahem. I faked a cough, and they all turned to look at me. I put my hand on my hip and stared them down. Look, I'm sorry, Linda. We're just worried about you. Yeah, this fantasy of yours will hurt you. Ugh, what did they know? I rolled my eyes. For your information, Colin and I are really dating. In fact, he's taking me out tonight, so I can't hang out. I walked off the other way, knowing full well that the looks on their face would be priceless. I know Colin wasn't actually my boyfriend, yet, but I knew it would happen soon. It was written in the stars. The next day, as I walked into school, I noticed some of the other kids whispering to each other and pointing at me. Okay, weird. Maybe it was my new dress or something. I bought it because it was an exact colored match to Colin's eyes. But things got weirder in physics class, because as soon as Colin walked in, everybody started giggling. Colin looked confused and said, "Okay, what's so funny?" Then this girl, Sally, shyly muttered out, "Sir, we heard you have a new girlfriend." He raised an eyebrow. "Yes, that's correct. How do you know?" He gave a nervous laugh. "Actually, this shirt is a gift from her." I felt the entire class's eyes turn to me. Well, except for Colin's. I tried to keep my cool, but inside I was fuming. How dare some other woman steal my man and force him to wear that hideous shirt? I knew I needed to keep up the lie, so after class I walked over to Lewis and Patty and said, "How cute does Colin look in that shirt?" They both frowned at me. Then Patty replied, "So you really are dating him?" "Yep," I gave a nod. "Right." She gave a skeptical look. They all needed to realize that Colin and I were the real deal. So I bought a box of candy and cut out a heart-shaped tag saying, "Love you, honey," with my candy floss scented gel pen. I did feel kinda nervous as I walked over to him, but our love was meant to be. "Hi, Linda. Can I help you?" "I got you this." I placed the gift down on his desk. He read the note and his face fell. Then, in a firm voice, he said, "Look, Linda, this is wrong." "No," I shook my head. "I know you like me." "Linda, please, you're my student. You're just a child." "No, we're meant to be together." "You love me." "I know you do." "I don't," he said sternly. "Now please leave." He rejected me? This had to be down to his new girlfriend. She was obviously poisoning his mind, as there was no way he couldn't like me. I wasn't leaving the room until he admitted he loved me too. So, crying, I sat down on the floor and folded my arms. Right at that moment, Patty and Louise rushed into the room and helped me up. Then they stared daggers at Colin as they led me out into the corridor. Turned out they'd followed me and observed through the window. How embarrassing. Thinking quick, I blubbered out, "He's such a jerk. I devoted all of myself to him, but he's bored of me now, so he dumped me." Just like that. My friends comforted me as they told me he wouldn't get away with it. There's no way I could face Colin again just yet. So, I feigned being sick and stayed home. Only when I returned to school, he wasn't there. Then, the principal called me to their office. I walked in to see both my parents sitting there with devastated looks on their faces. Oh no. What was going on? "Sweetie, we're sorry for not protecting you more." Mom looked over at me with glassy eyes. Then the principal said, "Mr. Halton has been fired, and the police are investigating him. Rest assured, nothing like this will happen again." Huh? Colin had been fired? Why? Then the reality hit me. It was because they thought he'd been having a relationship with me. I muttered out, "No, you've got it all wrong. Nothing happened." "Linda, I know this is difficult, but he's a bad man." It didn't matter what I said. They remained convinced that I was so manipulated by Colin that I'd say anything to clear his name. Straight after the meeting, I found Patty and Louise, and they confessed that they hated seeing me so upset, so they'd told the principal about me and Colin. I took a deep breath, then I blurted out, "But I made it up! All of it!" Of course, they were super angry with me for lying, but after bearing their tantrums for some 30 minutes, they agreed to help me clear his name. So, they went to the cop station with me, and we told them everything. It worked, as Colin had his name cleared, but unsurprisingly, he never came back to teach at my school. The three of us were suspended from school, and my parents grounded me for a month. Patty and Louise are still my friends, but I can see they don't trust me anymore. Anytime I tell them anything, they give each other these, "yeah, right" looks. I feel so guilty for everything I did. It was never meant to go that far, but I now realize that my childish behavior almost cost a good man his future. I wish I could apologize to Colin in person, but I know I'll never get a chance to. Please be careful with your words, as they could ruin someone's career, life, everything. If, like me, you adore your teacher, then please just respect them, be nice, and let them be.
Hey, my name's Kelly, and I'm so excited to start high school. Yes, I get it. Most kids my age feel the same way, but for them, it's all about proms, later curfews, getting their own car, and having a cute boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay, so those things sound great too, but the thing I'm most excited about is joining a cool club, a music one to be exact. You see, since I was little, I had this dream of being part of an awesome club like in Glee. Finally, school started. I was so eager to dive into this new environment, but it took me a few days till I could get a clue of where the music club office was or how to apply for it. No one seemed to know, to be honest, or maybe it's because I've only been asking freshmen who were just as lost as me. Anyway, after a lot of pacing the hallways, I found a room that said music club on the door. Well, it actually said M6 Club, as the U was missing, but it had to be it, right? I couldn't contain my excitement. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Hello, everyone. What was this? I took one quick scan around the room, as there's not much to look at anyway. There was a rusty guitar in the corner, a dusty drum set, and some rackety old chairs. 3 girls were sitting separately. One girl greeted me shyly, so I went and sat next to her. She said, "Hi, I'm Daisy. I play guitar and sometimes the bass. I learn ballads, you know." Then this one girl who was painting her nails interrupted her. "Ballads are the worst." She rolled her eyes. "But luckily for you guys, I sing a mean pop tune." Daisy turned to me and whispered, "That's Mia, and I'm not really sure if she can really sing though." The only other girl in the room had her headphones in and was dancing weirdly. Daisy told me she was called Jill, and she could kind of play the drums. I looked around the room of misfits once again, and I'm not gonna lie, I was really disappointed. This wasn't what I imagined. I told myself it was okay, and that more kids might join up later on in the term. I mean, it wasn't the easiest club to find, so it might take some time. That's all. Besides, this was my chance to claim leadership here. So, without wasting any time, I gathered them all up for a little discussion. Then I started with introducing myself. "Hey guys, I'm Kelly. I started play organ since 8. I've been trying to learn to compose songs too." There was not much reaction except for Daisy's shy claps. I then continued, "So, we should have a team leader, right guys? Let's cast our votes. Everyone will have a minute to talk about why they should be the leader." Daisy nodded her head, Mia rolled her eyes and mouthed, "Whatever." And Jill, well, she still had her headphones on, so I took the lead. Okay, so I'll start then. I think as the president of this club, I will... Mia cut my words. "Fine, you're it, whatever. Who else votes for Kelsey? Hands up." I started saying, my name is Kel. Mia raised her hand and then shook it out so her nails could dry. Jill raised her hand even though I don't think she actually knew what she was voting for. And Daisy raised hers while shyly adding, "I think you'll be a great leader, Kelly. I'm too shy anyway, so you'll have my full support." Well, okay, that was easy, so I'm a club president now. That will look so good on my portfolio. Now, I will bring back this club from oblivion. We will revive it. I'll have my own high school musical. I was actually excited. As soon as I got home, I went through my song list and picked out some good ones. Then I texted the girls to bring their instruments in the following day. But then at practice, all my dreams came crashing down. Daisy was right. Mia's singing voice was terrible. But she couldn't play an instrument, so I had to let her take center stage, which she loved, as she clearly liked the spotlight. But then Jill folded her arms and refused to play. "She can't stand there. She's covering me entirely. The drum is the soul of the song. Duh, I should be center." This annoyed Mia and they started bickering. I left them to it and went over to Daisy. "Please tell me you can sing, can you? We gotta do something. Mia couldn't be the only vocalist. We'll be doomed." Daisy looked stunned. She shook her head continuously. No, I can't do that. It's already such a big challenge for me to play in public. I can't sing." I tried convincing her that she could sing backing vocals with me, and she'd be fine. In the end, she agreed, but only if she could wear a mask on stage. What? Fine, I shouted. Fine. Guys, Daisy, it's okay. You can put a mask on while performing until whenever you feel comfortable. And you two, no need to fight. I'm sure the stage is big enough for you both to be in the spotlight. This is just a practice session. No one is here to see you. Just put up with it for a bit. Then when we're on stage, we'll figure it out. They all mellowed down a bit, thankfully. Geez, talk about draining. So, over the next few weeks, we got to work, and OMG, what a clash of personalities. I felt like I was the glue holding us all together, and it was so exhausting. Mia wanted to practice in the morning, but Jill wanted to meet in the afternoon, so I suggested doing a morning one day and an afternoon the next practice day. Then there was a song choice. Mia and Daisy were keen on a Taylor Swift song, but Jill tried to rock it up and made it sound awful. I compromised by letting her have a drum solo in the middle of it. They were hard work, but the strange thing is, I was actually beginning to like them all. Mia gave us all style tips and even let me borrow her lip gloss. Jill always recommended us some really interesting Netflix series to watch. Daisy made us homemade snacks to munch on during practice while I helped them out with their homework. Besides all the bickering, there were definitely friendships blossoming there. The problem is our band sucked. We'd only performed twice during break time at the school basketball game, but no one even noticed us, not while the dance team was performing. They were so in sync, and this one kid could do the splits. I mean, how could we compete with that? Then finally, the prom came. This was our big shot. We prepared a lot and practiced hard for it. We even went picking out prom dresses together, thinking about how glorious we would all look on stage performing in these gorgeous dresses. Before our performance was the dance team's, so we couldn't set up our instruments beforehand since they said they would be in their way. So as soon as they finished, we had to rush on stage with our instruments. Trust me, this is not as easy as it sounds, especially when all of us, well, apart from Jill, were in long puffy dresses. Talking about Jill, she chose to wear this cape instead, and it kept on getting tangled up and messing her rhythm. Daisy was distracted by the lights, so she messed up all the notes, and me, while I was playing, suddenly my keyboard stand collapsed. I guess due to being in a rush, it wasn't properly set up earlier. I had to improvise and immediately sat down to continue to play, and then Mia was too into it and sang off-key while dancing, which made her out of breath. It was a literal disaster. Seriously, it was so bad the baffled crowd gave a mixture of chuckles and amazed gasps. This is not how I envisioned it to go. Afterward, we walked in silence back to the music room to drop off our instruments. Then Jill said, "I told you the prom dresses were a bad idea. Not only did you sound awful, but you look stupid too." Mia was fuming as she replied, "Says the girl in the stupid cape. Since when has the Count Dracula look ever been good?" Jill said, "At least I have talent. You're tone deaf." "I am not. It's not my fault I have terrible backing singers." "Yeah, right, Mia. Was that what you call singing? All you did was dance and scream. This ain't a nightclub." Mia fought back. "My fault? What did I do? It's all because all you played so awful, so I had to try my best to stir up the crowd. And you," she turned to me, "were you on stage to chill? Who on earth sits while performing?" "Me? Now you're blaming me? You were the one who set up the keyboard stand for me. It's because you didn't do it properly. Lucky for you, my keyboard is still okay." "Never mind, guys. Let's not. Hey, you guys should have taken care of your own instruments. Don't blame me. Even if I sang off key, it was because you guys played terribly." "Who chose this song? It was too hard for us." "Okay, let's stop blaming each other and focus on figuring out how to improve ourselves, or else I doubt that the school will let us perform in any event ever again." "Again? Isn't this enough to call it a day? This stupid club shouldn't even exist. I'm out of here. I quit." "Me too. What a waste of time." "Bye, losers." Ditto. Sorry, Kelly, but I can't do this anymore." I could only stand there and shout as they walked through the door. "Guys, are you kidding me right now? Guys! Okay then, just leave. To hell with this club." My Glee Club dreams were over. Yet I just stayed there wondering what I was meant to do now. This was the worst day ever. But it was okay. I joined another club. Maybe the dance club. I mean, I couldn't dance all that well, but I could learn, couldn't I? The Monday after, we all went to the club room to grab our stuff. The four of us didn't say a word to each other. It was super frosty. Then out of nowhere, this guy stepped in. Well, not just any guy. Cole Henderson, the hottest boy in freshman year. At first, I thought he was lost, but then he said,
"Hey guys, is this the room for music club?"
"Hey, Kelly here. So, my dreams of being a part of an amazing school band, well, they weren't going so well. After a catastrophic prom performance, we all decided to go our separate ways. At least it was until Cole, the hottest boy in freshman year, walked into the room. There he was, smiling in the doorway and holding his electric guitar. So Jill glared at him and said, 'What do you want?'
He replied, I know there isn't any member recruitment going right now, but I'd like to join the band if you guys..."
I was about to tell him that there was no band anymore, but Mia spoke first. "Yes, sure, of course." Then she rushed over to him and dragged him across the room. Daisy looked puzzled and said, "But weren't we already disbanded?" Then Jill said, "Daisy, you must have misheard us. We said we wanted to expand our brand, not disband." Is this for real? Wow, it's amazing what a cute guy can do. So I just nodded and then said, okay then, I guess. Welcome to the band. Okay, so think about it. This guy might not be in any way musically gifted. Not that it mattered. Because of him, there was currently still a band. And surely girls would come and see us now, even if we sucked. I mean, he's Cole Henderson. For Valentine's Day, he got at least 40 cards. They all fell out of his locker. It was crazy. So, we started practicing, and wow, it turned out Cole had an amazing voice, and he could play electric guitar like a pro. Mia even volunteered to step down and be backing vocals. What was going on? And Daisy was happy not to have to sing anymore and just concentrate on playing bass. Having Cole around solved a lot of our problems. The prom incident was completely forgotten. No more Mia and Jill fighting for the spotlight, but there was one thing. I knew they both had crushes on Cole. I mean, it was so obvious. Mia dressed up for every practice. I mean, she always makes an effort with her appearance, but glittery dresses on a normal school day? That was so over the top. Then there was Jill. Whenever Cole was around, she was so polite to everyone and complimented us on everything. I knew they were low-key competing with each other, as one time Jill's drumstick disappeared, and while she was looking for them, Mia went over to Cole and felt his arm and asked him if he'd been working out. Then another time, Mia's lipstick was replaced with a black one, which she applied before practice. Horrified, she ran into the bathroom to wash it off, and Jill went over to Cole and asked him to teach her how to play guitar while we waited for Mia. The band was certainly eventful, but I had to admit I was enjoying myself. We even decided on a name, Rouge September. This named after three of us have birthdays in September, and Mia and Cole's favorite color is red, but Mia insisted on using the French word for it to be more edgy. Yep, it took us hours to come up with that, but I like it. I like it a lot. We really started to improve and had lots of fun doing it. Then Cole suggested we play One Direction's What Makes You Beautiful at this upcoming school concert. I loved the song, so I immediately agreed. Even Jill did, and I know she hates One Direction. So we rehearsed like crazy and everyone showed up on time and worked really hard. Yes, Mia and Jill's low-key competing continued, but whatever. At least we were all there practicing. The night of the performance arrived, and I was mixed of excited and scared. Cole helped me set up my keyboard stand, and I noticed that he kept on giving me funny looks. Before I could ask him what was up, it was time to perform. We were so amazing, and everyone was cheering for us. Then the song ended, and Cole started to talk into the microphone.
Thanks guys. You were awesome. But there's something I want to say.
Then he looked at me.
Kelly, I just want to let the whole world know that you're the most beautiful girl, and I really enjoyed getting to know you for the past few months, and well, I'd love it if you could be my girlfriend.
What was that? Was he out of his mind? Since when did he have feelings for me? The crowd went crazy, screaming and cheering, while I froze there. I could see Jill and Mia were looking at me with fiery eyes. Cole tried to walk towards me and say something, but the microphone didn't work. Jill had just unplugged it, and Mia charged towards me screaming, "You traitor! Cole is mine!" Cole jumped in front of me to protect me from her. Then Daisy suddenly burst into tears, like hysterically. We all looked at each other, immediately knew, oh boy, she must have had a crush on Cole too. The next thing we knew, a teacher walked on stage and shooed us off. That's when I noticed the whole crowd gapping at us and laughing. Geez, this was so humiliating. Worse still, we walked off stage and the school director said,
"So, you think that was funny, do you? Let's see if you're still laughing in detention."
Then he locked us all in a classroom and said we could only leave when we understood what we did wrong and resolved everything. There's no way I wanted to talk to any of them about this mess. Thanks to them, I look like a fool. And now I had detention while I hadn't even done anything. It was some 5 minutes of awkward silence until Cole shyly started.
"Okay, we can't just sit here in silence for however long. Look, I like Kelly, and the concert was a great opportunity for me to confess my feelings. That's all."
Was he serious right now? This was the last thing he needed to say right now. Jill suddenly fueled up again and turned to me yelling, "You've been seducing Cole even though you knew I liked him?" Cole tried to chime in.
"Guys, this is not how it works."
Mia also came at me. "You don't deserve to be our leader. You're so sneaky." Then there went Daisy, bursting out crying again. Jill tried to comfort her while Mia said, "Another victim of beauty, huh?" Daisy stuttered through tears. Why do you get everything? You got to be the leader. You got the cute boy. You get all the attention." Jill rolled her eyes. "Yeah, so you're the lamest leader. So lame my dog could do better." That was it. I'd had enough of these selfish people. I couldn't hold back anymore and screamed at them. "Oh yeah? You think being a leader is easy? I guess you guys have never spared your precious seconds to think about how much I've done for you all. I got you a platform for the drum, a freaking mask, a dumb rhinestone microphone. You asked for it, I delivered it. It's all because I love this band. I want to have an actual band, a successful music club. I want to leave a legacy here at this school to make our high school years meaningful. But all I'm getting is hate and some selfish friends that I don't know if I could call friends anymore. I didn't know Cole liked me. In fact, I had no idea. I guess I was being too busy trying to keep this club together to notice. But no more. I'm done." I was out of breath after that, and when I finished, I saw them all looking at me stunned. Detention or no detention, I grabbed my stuff and I was about to leave when Mia timidly said, sorry, I guess it's true. I really haven't thought." Jill added, "Yeah, you should have told us earlier. I'm sorry. I didn't know this really meant that much to you." Daisy wiped her tears. "Yes, and please don't say that, Kelly. Of course. We're still friends. Please forgive us." Cole was about to say something too, then Mia quickly covered his mouth. No, kid. This is our business." "Now, Kelly, what do you say? Could you please take us back as your adorable friends and bandmates?" Then all three of them gathered up and looked at me with puppy eyes, trying to make me smile. I tried to keep my straight face, but eventually I burst out laughing and hugged them all. Then Daisy cried again, which set all of us off. Even Jill. Cole was sitting there looking at us oddly. When Mia noticed this, she pointed at him and said, "That boy was the one who broke us apart. Don't understand why we were so swooned over him. I wish I knew you were trouble when you walked in." Oh my god, did you just quote Taylor Swift? "You know it's Taylor Swift," Daisy laughed. "But you're right, I'm so over him now." "Yep, stupid crush," Jill agreed. I waved Cole over to join the group hug as I said, "Guys, remember that Cole was the one who saved us when we were on the verge of disbandment. He deserves some credit." "What do you mean on the verge? We were already disbanded," Mia joked. Then Jill added, "Wow, we've been through it all. Now I guess we can get over everything together too, right guys?" I said, "Yes, that's the spirit. Now on 3. 1, 2, 3. Rouge September. Let's go." You thought this was the end to it? Nah, not quite. Later that day when I was walking back home, Cole ran after me.
"Hey Kelly, look, I'm sorry. I had no idea what this club meant to you. Please forget all about my confession and let's be friends. I want to help you with the band and everything."
I smiled at him. I'd like that. So, Peace was restored, and as for Rouge September, well, we're still going. Who knows? One day we might be the greatest band on earth. But yeah, having close friends, being together every day, and playing music together is enough for me. But then something weird started happening. I found myself smiling when I looked at Cole and noticing how cute he was when he tuned his guitar. Did I like him? No, it couldn't be, could it? I mean, if I did that, then that meant I had to confess to him this time around, right? But here's a thought. It surely won't be on stage.
Sometimes in life, we have a chance encounter with someone who ends up changing our life. This is exactly what happened to me, and it was totally unexpected. You see, I was pretty lonely at the time. I'm Amelia, by the way, and I'm 20 years old. I was living all on my own in a tiny house in Portland. It was my mom's house, but she sadly passed away from cancer 2 years ago. I'm not going to say that life was easy for me, because it wasn't. All I wanted was to become a comic book artist. I love art so much, but the only way I could make this dream a reality was to make money. Ever since graduating from high school, I'd been working as a waitress to make ends meet, and also to save up enough cash to enroll in art college. Honestly, this job got me through the hardest time in my life. The days, weeks, and months after my mom passed away were so painful, and the restaurant kept me busy, so I barely had time to sit with all my feelings. Moreover, little did I know how much this waitressing job would change my life forever. It all started with an incident in the restaurant. I'll never forget that day. I was carrying a tray of food when I accidentally spilled some water onto the shoes of some fancy girl. Oh my god, she went crazy. She started screaming at me, and even though I frantically apologized right away, she still asked to speak to my manager. I leapt down and tried to clean the water off her shoes with a cloth, and that's when I heard a voice.
Hey, stop! What do you think you're doing?
I looked up and saw the boy she was with staring at me. He looked disgusted at me, and then said to the girl,
Babe, let's bounce before that waitress ruins your shoes even more with her filthy hands. Come on, let's hit the mall. I'll buy you a new pair of shoes.
Clearly, he was her boyfriend, and as soon as he mentioned new shoes, her eyes sparkled with joy as she said, "Yay, babe! I want a new bag too, though. Could you?" And her boyfriend just laughed and said,
Anything you want, my princess.
They got up to leave and smirked at me as they walked away. I couldn't believe how rude they were, especially the boy. I felt so angry, I wished I could slap him right across that cocky face. But of course, I didn't. There was no way I could risk losing my job. But I knew that if I ever saw his face again, I'd definitely give him a piece of my mind. And, well, believe it or not, I did indeed see him again. The world works in mysterious ways, and I guess we were destined to meet again. A few weeks after that, one evening, I was heading home and passed by the park to feed the stray cats as usual. While I was playing with them, I noticed some guy heading towards me. Suddenly, he grabbed my arms and pulled me towards him. I started shouting at him and trying to push him away, but he was too strong. Then, out of nowhere, someone said,
What's going on? I'm trying to sleep over here. Keep it down.
A drunk, dirty-looking homeless guy walked towards us, and for a second I was terrified. But then I realized he was helping me. He started shouting at the guy holding on to me, saying,
Hey you! Are you deaf or something? Let her go and keep silent.
The jerk was getting heated, and the next moment, he punched that homeless guy in the face, and then they started fighting. Then I freaked out and didn't know what to do. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and played a recording of a police siren. I live alone, so I know all the tricks. Well, that did it. The jerk who'd grabbed me suddenly jumped up and sprinted out of the park. The homeless guy who'd helped me was still lying on the ground, so I helped him up. He was black and blue, and there were even some scratches on his face, and as I got closer to him, I realized he looked familiar. OMG! Wasn't he the rude guy from the restaurant? What was he doing looking all dirty like a homeless guy? He had his eyes closed, so I patted his face and said, Hey, Wake up! What are you doing out here? He opened his eyes and asked,
Do I know you?
He stared at me for a while, then eyeing my uniform and smiled.
Oh, the little waitress. Guess what? I'm poorer than you now.
Then he passed out. I was so annoyed that I'd bumped into him again. I was about to leave him lying there, but then I realized he'd saved me, and I could hardly leave him there with all his injuries. So, yeah, in the end, I decided to take him back to my place to get my first aid kit. I cleaned up his scratches, and then let him crash on my sofa. The next morning, he was super surprised when he woke up. I told him what had happened and that he'd saved my life, so I saved his. Then I said he should probably head home now, but he just stared at me. And that's when he told me his story. He really was homeless. His parents had kicked him out because they'd found out he wasn't their biological son. What on earth? How could any parent do that? It's not like he has tricked them, but it was due to some mix-up at birth. So, wasn't he also a victim? I felt sorry for him, but still, it was none of my business. I had to get to work, so I asked him to leave, but he begged me to let him stay. I just looked at him in shock and said, how about you go to your rich girlfriend's place instead? I really need to get going now. But he didn't budge. He said,
Oh, don't even mention that gold digger. She only cared about me when I was the only son of a millionaire. Now that I've got nothing, not a cent, she broke up with me.
Wow, shocker. But, well, it's not like I couldn't tell that she has a lousy personality right from the get-go. So I said, well, what about your friends? Can't you crash with them? But he said no. It started to frustrate me. So I said, you can't stay here. I don't even know a thing about you. Then he splurted out,
Hi, I'm Jude. I'm 22 years old, I've got all my fingers and toes, and my criminal record is clean. There you go. Now you know me.
And he topped it off with a grin, as if that could win me over. He then went on to say that he'd pay rent, and that when he found a job and stuff, he'd leave. I hesitated. I mean, I couldn't live with a strange guy. But then I thought about that extra money I'd get if he helped with rent. I could really use that money for my college fees. He could see I wasn't sure, so he said,
Come on, please. I mean, I did save your life last night.
But there's only one bedroom, I said.
Don't worry, I'll sleep here.
He pointed at the sofa. I thought for a while, then nodded my head and agreed. And only for 1 month, okay? Then I made him shower and change his clothes, since he was so gross and dirty. But he told me he didn't have anything to change to.
I was kicked out, remember?
And he even had the cheek to ask me for some money to buy new clothes. No chance. I told him he could wear my clothes, since some of them were quite big. At first, he refused. He said there was no way he was wearing women's clothes. So I said he either wore them or kept his dirty clothes and left my house. Ha! Of course he had no choice. And seeing him in my floral pants was hilarious. A few days later, though, he still hadn't found a job. Every night I'd come home to find him lying on the sofa in my oversized pajamas. He was so messy and lazy, and after a week, I couldn't bear it. I nagged him. You have to find a job, or how do you expect to pay me rent? And the least you can do is clean up around here. I'm not your maid. He said he'd been looking for an office job, but it was hard as he had no knowledge and experience. This annoyed me, so I suggested he apply for a delivery man position. He looked at me in horror and said,
What do you think I am?
Oh, hello, you're a homeless boy with nothing. What else do you want? I thought. Then I said he could come work with me in the restaurant, but he refused, saying that his friends went there all the time and they'd laugh at him. I was speechless. I said, Suit yourself, but after 1 month, you're out of here. A few hours later, he knocked on my bedroom door and said he'd take the restaurant job, but he needed clothes. Finally, I'm glad that this boy has come to his senses. That's great. You can start from tomorrow. I'll call the manager. and I know the exact place where you could get all the stylish clothes for free. Let's go!" At first, he was so excited, but when he realized that I was taking him to a clothing donation center, his face changed. He looked disgusted and said, "No way." I smirked and said, "It's up to you. You either pick something to wear from this place, or you can wear my clothes. I've got a floral dress that would really bring out the color of your eyes." He looked so sulky as he reluctantly went through the rack of used clothes. It was so funny. But everything was only about to start. You won't believe what happened next. Stay tuned for part 2 to see how things went between Jude and I. Hi again, it's Amelia here. In the first part of my story, I had a horrible encounter with a rude guy in the restaurant I worked in. I hoped I'd never have to meet that kind of awful person ever again. But life doesn't work like that, does it? And ironically, I bumped into him around a month after that, and he saved my life. Then I ended up paying him back by letting him move in with me as he was homeless. And after a few days, I just had enough of his excuses of not being able to find a job. So I told him he could come work in the restaurant with me. I introduced him to my manager, and because he's quite a bright-looking guy, he immediately got the job. However, it wasn't all plain sailing. I mean, what's with his laziness and clumsiness? He was a walking disaster. He broke so many dishes within his first few shifts only, he'd be lucky if he even got any salary. And that's not all. He shouted at a kid who dropped an ice cream on the floor he'd just cleaned. Obviously, the kid burst out crying, which made Jude even angrier. You can just imagine how much our manager had to apologize to both the kid and his mom. And after that, she was furious with Jude and threatened to fire him, all in his first week. Meanwhile, things at home weren't much better. He didn't lift a finger. The place was such a mess, and one time I asked him to do some laundry while I went out to pick up some groceries. Well, I came home to find the laundry room covered in bubbles. And there he was, standing in the middle of that mess, confusingly pushing all the buttons possible to make it stop. He had basically poured the whole bottle of detergent in there. I couldn't believe it. He was useless, and he kept breaking things. I actually had to keep a list of it all, so that when he got his salary, he could pay me back. He was a nightmare. And yet, even though he was lazy and messy, that didn't stop him spending hours on his hair. I kid you not, I've watched him fix his hair for about 90 minutes once. And I swear, it still looked the same. Not to mention, one time I accidentally walked in on him singing in the bathroom while stroking his hair. All he was wearing was a little towel, and we both got such a fright we screamed, and I ran out of there in embarrassment. I came close to kicking him out so many times. He drove me crazy. Honestly, one night I was working late, so I asked if he could prepare dinner. Just a simple pasta. I mean, how hard could that be, right? Well, it was mission impossible for Jude. He burnt the pasta. Burnt it! How does one burn pasta? There were bowls and pans everywhere. When I started shouting at him, he just laughed and shoved me a dish of burnt noodles and said, "Oh, come on, Amelia. I'm a chef. It's art. Now please, enjoy my signature dish, the smoky charcoal pasta." I could have killed this guy, but lucky for him, his humor has saved him this time. So instead, I decided to teach him how to cook. And fortunately, he was actually a pretty decent chef, and he enjoyed it. One night I came home, and he'd made a Thai green curry. It unexpectedly looked quite nice. Still, I was nervous to try it. But OMG, it was delicious. He proudly told me how the chef at the restaurant had given him the recipe along with some cooking tips. That's great! And even though the kitchen was a total mess, it was a start, so I decided he could cook from then on, and then I'd do the washing up. Pretty soon, his 1 month was up. I told him it was time to move out, but he begged me to let him stay longer, as he'd barely got any salary from the restaurant due to owing so much from all the broken dishes. I wanted to say no, but if I was honest with myself, it had been quite lonely living by myself, and even though he was a total klutz, I kinda enjoyed having some company. Plus, he was a top chef. I pretended to be thinking about it for a sec, and then said, "Okay, fine, but you've got 1 more month. Then you're out." He was super happy, thanking me non-stop while running to the kitchen, saying he'd cook me a special dinner in return. Just like that, we learned to get along better with each other, as we lived and worked together. And, well, time flew, and soon another month had gone by, and yet neither of us even brought it up. So he kept on staying. Then one day, while Jude and I were working, a group of stuck-up girls came in. One of them suddenly said, "Guys, look! Isn't that our Prince Jude? Why is he working here like a loser?" Then they all burst out laughing. This made me angry, and I was about to go over and say something when I realized that the girl who'd spoken was Jude's ex. I knew Jude had heard, and I thought he'd get annoyed, but he just ignored her and kept working. But the girls kept on laughing, and it was seriously annoying. I went over to take their order, but Jude's ex refused to be served by me. She kept asking for Jude to take their order, and when I said he was busy, she demanded to see our manager. Eventually, he went to serve them, but his ex kept on harassing him. She even dropped water all over the floor so that he'd have to come and clean it up. I offered to do it for him, but he wouldn't let me. And then it got worse. As they were leaving, that girl dropped a $10 tip on the floor. I was furious. What a spoiled brat. I thought Jude would leave it, but he calmly sat down to pick it up while the group of girls all burst out laughing as they walked out of the restaurant. I ran over to comfort Jude, but he just smiled and said, "Hey, I have $10. What do you want for dinner? My treat." Then he went back to work, but every time I looked over at him, I could see he was hurt. I really wanted to yell at his ex. How rude can a person get? Later that night at dinner, we spoke about everything that had happened that day. I told him he shouldn't feel sad about his ex, because she was rude and never deserved him in the first place. But then he just laughed it off and said that it wasn't that gold digger that he was bothered by, but actually because it reminded him of his old attitude and the ways he used to treat people, including me on that first day we'd met. Then he sighed and said, "I bet if I'd been a better person, a decent son, then my parents wouldn't have kicked me out that heartlessly, even when I wasn't their actual son." Suddenly I felt so sorry for him, but I didn't know what to say to make it better. But to be fair, looking back at the person he was back then when we first met versus now, he was like a totally different guy. He had been doing a great job at work, and all our colleagues loved him. One day, a kid dropped her ice cream, and I stared in shock, waiting for Jude to freak out. But instead, he went over and asked if she was okay, and if she'd like another ice cream. I couldn't believe it. He was so sweet to her. I couldn't stop myself from smiling at him. He'd seriously changed. And even though it pains me to admit, he's a very good-looking guy. So naturally, he got a lot of attention. In fact, a lot of girls came to the restaurant just to be served by him. They even openly flirted with him, and he surely loved it. I just rolled my eyes, wishing I didn't have to see that. There was one girl in particular who came to the restaurant almost every day. She was super pretty, and obviously was trying to get his attention. I noticed one shift that Jude was kind of flirting back. How irritating. I guess he hadn't changed that much then. Then one day, I saw her hand him a piece of paper. When he came back to the counter, he was grinning and said to me, "Looks like I've got a date tonight." I was so annoyed and said, "It's not okay to flirt with the customers. I'll tell our manager." Then I stormed off. Later that afternoon, he clocked out first without telling me, and when I got home from work, I saw him being all dressed up for his date, which made me feel so grumpy for no reason. He was whistling and sounded so happy. Then as he walked out the door, he said, "Don't wait up for me. It might be a late one." Ugh, he was driving me nuts. I told him he had to be home by 10 p.m. or I'd lock him out. He laughed and said, "Are you joking? You're giving me a curfew? Geez, Amelia, if I didn't know better, I'd think you were jealous or something." Ew, I wasn't jealous. And I told him that. Who did he think he was? As if I'd ever be jealous of that girl. No chance. And yet, I couldn't sleep that night. I kept tossing and turning and thinking about Jude and that pretty girl. Eventually, I got up and decided to go for a walk. Maybe I just needed some fresh air. But as I walked into the park, there he was. But the girl was nowhere to be seen. Instead, he was sitting on a bench surrounded by stray cats. I walked towards him, and he was as surprised to see me as I was to see him. I asked him why he wasn't out on his hot date, and he said,
"Oh, the date went well, but I decided to come sleep in the park because I missed your curfew."
That made me feel so guilty. I was about to justify myself. Then he winked and said,
"Just kidding. Actually, the date was boring. I did come to the bar and hung out with her for a bit, but I strangely felt out of place, so I made up an excuse to leave. I didn't want to come home too early, though, in case you'd laugh in my face, so here I am." I don't know. I think I'm kinda over dating and stuff.
Wait, am I hearing it wrong? Our playboy chooses to go play with stray cats instead of hanging out with hot girls in fancy bars? Are you really, Jude? I playfully rubbed his head while teasing him. Can't deny, but I actually felt so relieved hearing him say that the date didn't go well and that nothing happened between him and that girl. In fact, I was strangely happy. But what does that mean? Do you wonder if Jude ever actually moved out? Stay tuned for the final part of my story. You wouldn't want to miss it. Hi, it's Amelia again. In the second part of my story, Jude started working in the restaurant, and at first, it was a total disaster. He made a mess everywhere he set foot in. He was driving me totally crazy. But then things started to change. Turns out, he was a pretty talented chef that could help me with housework. And at work, he was becoming quite popular. One day, he got a date with a pretty girl, which annoyed me so much. But then I found him in the park playing with stray cats instead of going on that date. Honestly, that made me feel so happy. Has he really changed? To find out, let's see what happened next. At the restaurant, there was a new waiter called Oliver, who was a year younger than me. Our manager asked me to look after him and show him the ropes. To be honest, I was really impressed with Oliver, as he was such a sweet guy and a fast learner too. Pretty soon, we became closer, and he was like my little brother. Jude, however, did not like him one bit. He was always shouting at Oliver, and even complained that he was careless and clumsy. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. We all knew that Jude was the clumsiest guy in the world. Anyway, Jude's birthday was coming up, and I wanted to buy him a new shirt, seeing as he mainly was wearing old clothes from the donation center. I wanted it to be a surprise, so I asked Oliver to come shopping with me, as Jude and Oliver were pretty much the same size. After buying a beautiful sweatshirt for Jude, Oliver took me home, and as we approached my house, I spotted Jude pacing up and down outside. Was he waiting for someone? When he saw that it was Oliver who gave me a ride, he looked angry and stormed into the house. I quickly said bye to Oliver and ran in, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The table was set with a whole bunch of delicious-looking dishes, and there were even candles and flowers. I was so confused. Had he invited a girl over for a date? How dare he? I asked him what it was for, and he said,
"What day is it today? Did you forget it?"
"Oh, so all of this was for his birthday party?" I just laughed and handed him the gift bag. He immediately looked so happy. What a child. But then he suddenly gave me a doubtful look and asked,
"But what did you do in the afternoon? And with that Oliver guy?"
I told him I'd asked Oliver to help me go shopping for his birthday, and then I jokingly said, "But why are you suddenly so curious? Why, you looked so annoyed upon seeing him. Are you jealous or something?" I wasn't expecting what happened next. He suddenly blushed and muttered out,
"Actually, yes, I like you, Amelia. In fact, I think I'm in love with you."
Whoa! What? I totally froze and didn't know what to say, but just kept looking at him and gasped. He could see I was speechless, so he waved his hands in front of me and said, "Hello, Earth to Amelia." Then he continued, "Well, Amelia, do you, have feelings for me too? Actually, never mind. It's not important. I mean, if you don't, then just forget it, and we can go back to being friends." Oh God, I had never seen him so shy before. His face went red as a tomato, and he kept scratching his head shyly. I couldn't help laughing, as, honestly, he looked so cute. So I grabbed his hands, and I couldn't stop the words from pouring out of my mouth. "Jude, honestly, I like you too." My heart was racing as I said that, and I didn't know what else to say. But suddenly he was hugging me tightly, and then the next moment we were kissing. I was over the moon. I hadn't realized how much I'd wanted that to happen. It felt amazing. From that moment on, we were inseparable. We lived together, worked together, and in our spare time we went camping, hung out in the park, and cycled to watch the sunset. He cared about me so much, and I don't think I'd ever been that happy in my life before. I didn't think life could be that great. Then, one day, while we were cleaning the house, he suddenly called me. "Amelia, look! How cute these pictures are! You drew them, right? Wow, you're gifted!" I realized he was looking at my box of comic books I'd drawn, which I'd hid under the bed. I felt kinda embarrassed, and told him that I hadn't done any drawings in a while. Then he asked me why I stopped, and I told him about how it had always been my dream to go to art college, but since my mom passed away, I'd had to forget it for a while and focus on just surviving. Jude suddenly grabbed my hands and said, "Honey, let's make this dream happen. I'll help you, okay?" I was so touched and gave him the biggest hug as a response. Jude was my everything, and best of all, he always supported me. And now, he encouraged me to follow my dream, too. Time went on, and everything was going amazingly, until one day, when everything changed. Jude and I were out walking, when a luxury black car stopped next to us. A random guy appeared, and told us to get in the car. I freaked out and grabbed Jude's arm. What was happening? Were we being kidnapped? There was no way we were getting in the car. But suddenly, the guy said, "Jude, this is an order from your parents." Jude looked shocked and said, "What do they want? They already kicked me out, so why should I come back? They want to show me how happy they are without me or something?" But still, Jude climbed in the car, and I had no choice but to follow him. On the way, there were so many questions running through my head, but I just kept quiet. A short while later, we stopped in front of a mansion. This must have been Jude's house. Whoa, I knew he came from a rich family, but not to this extent. Jude held my hand and led me inside, where a couple, probably his parents, was sitting and waiting for us. Jude immediately shouted at them, saying, "What do you want? I moved out just like you wanted, so why can't you leave me alone?" I had never seen Jude so angry before. It actually scared me. His parents looked calm, though, and they just sat there smiling, and then his mom asked him to calm down and take a seat. The next moment, a maid appeared and brought us some water, but she accidentally spilled some, and she looked mortified. She kept apologizing and wiping it up, but Jude took the tissue and started cleaning it for her. Then he politely said to her that he would come help her make the pot of tea. Jude's parents looked shocked, but somewhat content, and asked Jude to stay as they had something important to tell him. They couldn't stop grinning. It was so weird. Then they told us their news, which shocked me to my core. Jude actually was their biological son. They'd lied to him because he'd had such a bad attitude, and they just wanted to teach him a lesson and force him to grow up a bit. They were sick of doing everything for him, and thought maybe moving out for a while would inspire him to become independent and realize the true value of family and money. What? I couldn't believe what I had heard. They kicked him out to help him grow up? That almost sounded like nonsense, but I guess it had worked, right? He had changed. But how could they come up with such a crazy plan? Of course, Jude wasn't okay with this. In fact, he was furious.
What did you say?
He screamed.
Am I a joke to you or something?
His mom tried to calm him down and said, Jude, honey, it was the only way. You were out of control, partying every night and spending all our money. We didn't know what else to do. We've been so worried about you. But son, we're so proud of you. Then his dad continued.
We've always been keeping an eye on you, son. We saw you working in that restaurant, and we are just so happy you've turned a corner and found this independence.
Then she turned to me and said, Amelia, right? Thank you so much, dear. You've looked after our son better than we ever could, and you've helped him so much. I just blushed and said, No, it's Jude who takes care of me, actually. He's been amazing. Jude was squeezing my hand tightly, and I could see how shocked he was. Over the past 6 months, he'd been on a complete roller coaster. From being abandoned by his parents to discovering that they'd lied to him just to teach him a lesson. I couldn't believe they'd done it. But to be honest, I was grateful. Otherwise, I wouldn't have met him, and he might still be out there dating gold diggers and partying his life away. So I turned to him and said, Babe, I know it hurts right now, but your parents did what they thought was best for you. Plus, thanks to that, you were able to realize who your true friends were, right? The ones who don't take advantage of you because of your money. It took a few moments, but then he gave me a gentle smile, and it was like he finally understood everything. He looked at his parents and said,
You guys are crazy, but if you hadn't done something so ridiculous, I'd never have met Amelia. She's made me the man I am today. Without her, and without both of you, I'd never have changed. Gosh, I miss you both. Mom, Dad, thank you.
At that, they all burst into tears and started hugging, and I just stood there, the tears pouring down my cheeks too. Watching them reunite like that was so touching, and it really made me miss my own mom. After that, we left, and as we were walking home in silence, Jude suddenly stopped and turned to me.
Amelia, thank you. Thank you for never giving up on me and for taking care of me. And now, it's my turn. I want you to go to art college and make your dreams a reality. Don't worry about money or anything. Just go make your mom and me proud.
I was speechless. I started crying again and gave him the biggest hug of my life. And guess what? We've moved into a new place downtown, and I'm about to start art college next week. Jude is working in his dad's company, and I have a feeling we're going to get engaged soon. Don't tell Jude, but I found the ring box he hid in his wardrobe, though. But I'll surely say yes, and then we can get married after I graduate. It has been a crazy journey, but I wouldn't want it to be any other way. I'm so excited for what's to come. Wish me luck.
Ma'am, sorry to inform you of this, but according to our information, Bella Hiddleston was reported dead 2 months ago after disappearing in the forest, the secretary said. What? This couldn't be happening. But that's my name, and I'm clearly still alive. This was some sick mistake. I asked them to check again, but they kept saying the same thing. Had I been missing for so long that my family actually thought I'd died? The accident had been pretty crazy, so I was feeling confused. I mean, what had I been doing in a forest in Cambodia in the first place? I tried so hard to remember, but I couldn't recall anything. Luckily, some local villagers had found me in a trapping pit and helped me recover. Otherwise, I would have died. I then asked the people in the embassy to help me call my husband and sister. There had clearly been a big misunderstanding, and I wanted to fix this right away. God, the weight was killing me. The secretary tried, but she said, Sorry, ma'am, we can't reach either of those numbers. This was unbelievable. I was stuck in a foreign country with no ID, no contact with relatives, and I'd been reported dead. But in a flash, I realized that I could borrow someone's phone to reach for my acquaintances via social media. So as soon as the secretary lended me hers, I went straight to my husband's profile. But I was so stunned, I almost dropped the phone when I saw his latest update. He'd just made an announcement that my funeral was taking place the following week. OMG! What was happening? How could this be real? I kept scrolling down his profile and saw my sister had posted an old selfie with him saying, "Ronnie, I know this is a tough time, but I'm always here for you. We'll get through this together." Hang on, what did she mean? Firstly, I wasn't actually dead. Hello? But also, I know my sister used to have feelings for Ronnie. Did she assume that she could just be with him now that she thought I was dead? What a traitor! We were so close. Surely she wouldn't treat me like this. I had to get home and sort this out once and for all. I asked the embassy to help me fly home without informing my family in advance. I wanted to surprise them. Believe it or not, the day I was due to arrive home was the day of my funeral. What a coincidence, right? I went directly to the funeral venue, in disguise, of course. I wore a huge black hat and sunglasses to hide my face and sat way at the back so no one would notice me. There were so many people there. My family, friends, and even my business partners. It was so bizarre. And then I saw Ronnie. He looked exhausted. I just wanted to run up to him and scream, "I'm alive! You can be happy again!" But then my sister Kylie appeared and took his arm and whispered something in his ear. I froze. They looked close, too close for comfort. And then I noticed people around me whispering, "Oh, it can't be that bad. He'll get a pretty penny from the insurance company for Bella's death." And then another lady said, "Not just that, but a younger, prettier wife too, by the look of things." I wanted to puke. Ronnie and Kylie were hugging each other now. All of this made me feel like my whole existence was meaningless. Nobody here really cared about me. I couldn't watch my sister and husband for a second longer. I ran out into the street and kept walking until I couldn't walk anymore. Then I found a motel to stay at. The next morning, I snuck home after my husband went to work. I needed to pick up some of my stuff and get some money. It was so weird being home. Everything looked the same, but I noticed none of my stuff was lying around anymore. Then I spotted it. A big box in the corner. I ran over to open it, and inside was all my belongings. I was shaking as I picked up the wedding photo that used to be on our nightstand. I mean, I was barely fresh in the grave, and already Ronnie had boxed me up. It was almost like he couldn't wait to kick me out of his life. Ouch! I wanted to get out of there, so I quickly went to our bedroom to get some cash and clothes. That's when I discovered a shocking secret that made me fall onto the floor. As I was taking my clothes out of my cupboard, a strange piece of paper fell out. And guess what? The first line caught my eye was Bella's death plan. It was a sketch showing the path leading to a waterfall and made up evidence along the way. OMG! This was it! I knew that waterfall. It was pretty close to where I had the accident. So, had Ronnie planned this? Was he sick in the head? What had I ever done to him to deserve this? I had to run out of there to clear my head, but something caught my eye at the newsstand. It was Kylie, on the front of the newspaper in an article about how she was going to be running the company in place of our grandfather. There was a photo of Kylie and Ronnie at the inauguration, and look how happy they were. They didn't seem to be upset about my death at all. I wanted to rip the paper up. But wait, why would my grandfather give up his position? He had never mentioned it. He loved his job. This didn't sound right. So I quickly took a taxi to his place to find out what was going on. When I got there, I was so shocked. My heart sank upon seeing him hooked up to medical equipment. Turns out that after he'd heard the news about my death, he'd had a heart attack. When he spotted me by the door, he was so stunned he almost fell off his bed. We hugged and cried, and I told him it had all been a big mistake. Gosh, I was so happy to see him. I could see he was tired, so I told him to rest up and I'd visit again soon. Then on the way out, I spoke to his assistant, Cody. "I need a favor. Could you help me prepare a case against Ronnie?" But suddenly I heard footsteps coming towards me. Bella? Is that you? I turned around, and it was Ronnie. I didn't even have time to think clearly before he rushed in to hug me tightly. I could feel the tears rolling down his cheeks, and he seemed genuinely shell-shocked to see me. I was disgusted, though. I pushed him away and said, "Stay away from me." But it was like he didn't hear me. He just said, "These have been some of the worst months of my life. I can barely sleep or eat. I can't believe you're alive." Liar! He was a liar! I started shouting at him, saying, "Stop acting like you give a darn! You wanted me dead! Just wait until this gets out. You'll be behind bars for the rest of your life." Then I took the sketch out of my bag and threw it at him. Ronnie swore he'd never seen it before, but I didn't believe it. If it's not his, then was he trying to say it was mine, or what? Ha! Hilarious. Suddenly, Cody interrupted our argument and said, "Calm down, please. Actually, I think the one who has been acting a bit shady recently is Kylie." Then Cody told us how, according to our grandfather's will, his inheritance would be split equally between me and Kylie. However, I was to be the one in charge of the company. Kylie had found out about this and had a big argument with our grandfather. And then not long after my accident, his health had deteriorated. Instead of letting him mourn my death, Kylie had insisted he transfer the business to her name so she could take care of it all. Then Ronnie said, "Bella, it was Kylie who set up our trip. Then you suddenly disappeared. I searched for you in Cambodia for weeks, but Kylie persuaded me to come home because your grandfather was so ill. Then the police canceled the case, and Kylie kept telling me to file your death certificate. I shouldn't have listened to her. I'm so sorry." "Stop blaming other people for your problem," I growled at Ronnie, but inside my heart, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Why would my sister do this? And then I heard Kylie's voice, and to prove it all, Ronnie told me and Cody to hide. And then he went towards her and said, "Kylie, about Bella's death." Before Ronnie could finish his sentence, she gave him a big smile and put her arm through his. "Well, now that her funeral is over, nothing is stopping us from being together, right?" Ronnie forced a smile. Then Kylie laughed and said, "Oh, come on. Don't be sad. My jealous sister didn't deserve you. You know what? She actually had this whole plan to test your loyalty, but then she ended up getting a taste of her own medicine." At that moment, my head started to hurt, and suddenly some of my old memories came flooding back. The sketch. It was mine. I was the one who'd made the plan. It all started when Kylie had told me that Ronnie was cheating on me, and I'd believed her and followed her advice to fake my own disappearance to test his love for me. How could I have been so stupid? When I realized I was alone in that forest and she wasn't coming back, I panicked and fell into a trapping pit, hurting my legs and getting stuck. It was all coming back to me now. I couldn't handle this. I ran towards her and painfully screamed, "How could you do this to me, Kylie?" At first, she was shocked to see me, but then she just smirked and said, "Are you still alive? Well, either way, it's too late. The company is mine now. Oh, and so is Ronnie, baby." Then she just rolled her eyes and said, "You were just the adopted child, so what makes you think you have the right to always steal everything from me?" At that moment, our grandfather appeared and slammed his cane on the ground. "Kylie, stop it." Kylie just sulked and said, "Honestly, why would you give her the whole company?" Then our grandfather said, "Look at yourself, Kylie. Are you really fit to be running a company? Sort yourself out. You are a disappointment to this family with your dirty, nasty tricks." I couldn't believe Kylie was still using the adopted thing to hurt me. So what if I was adopted? That didn't mean I wasn't a part of this family. She'd always been so jealous of me, even though I hadn't done anything. Kylie started crying and ran out of there saying she was sick of never being anyone's favorite. Well, maybe if she hadn't left me to die, people would like her more. I was so shocked that she'd done this to me, and all because of jealousy. I won't lie. It took me so long to work through this. I still haven't forgiven her properly, but I guess it will just take time. As for me and Ronnie, we've taken over the family business, and I realized that Ronnie had always been loyal. Kylie had just made up that he was cheating because she couldn't bear to see me so happy. One thing's for sure, I won't ever be testing his love again. No more faking death for me.
This school is so boring. All they do is talk nonsense and do nonsense things. Worse still, I feel like I can never escape them, as some of them live in the same neighborhood as me. But you know what the most annoying thing about my life is? That's Joy, my identical twin sister. In my parents' eyes, she's perfect. That's why she's the favorite child. Her allowance is more than mine, and she gets to attend an elite private school while I'm stuck at the most boring school ever. How unfair! With a sulky face, I walked into my room whining. I think having identical daughters means our parents forgot that there's actually 2 of us. They've never picked me up from school. Don't be absurd. They just took me to collect my dress for the school gala. A new dress for some fancy party. How terrible for you. I don't even want to go to the party. Trust a nerd like you not to appreciate what you have. If I were you, I'd make the most of every second of that elite school of yours. And if I were you, I would just enjoy my pressure-free life. We both sighed and stared into a void, thinking about our tiring lives. Then Joy suddenly turned to me. Oh my god, Jade! Do you want to be me? Go to my school, have my things, and attend the gala? What a brilliant idea! Why had we never thought of it before? I'd live her fancy life and she'd live my dull one. That's perfect! Wow, this school is enormous. I tried to keep my cool as I navigated the endless hallways in search of Joy's locker. Ah, found it. I spotted a group of girls waving me over. They must be Joy's besties, Ruth, Nora, and Nell. Unlike my boring sister, they looked very glam in their branded clothes. What a power group! Wherever we went, all eyes were on us. Students handed us snacks, saved places in the cafeteria line for us, and let us sit in the front row of the basketball match. These girls were so interesting. Bet I fit in with them way more than Joy did. Talking about Joy, she somehow loved my boring old-fashioned school. I'd never heard her chat that much in my life. About how nice my friends were, how easy all the lessons were, and how cool the school bus was. Joy's friends were so much fun, and they did cool things. For instance, they always had shopping dates and bought each other expensive gifts without question. One time, Nora, the richest girl in the group, didn't hesitate in going into Kate Spade and buying the new release handbag for Ruth. I thought this was pretty awesome of Nora, but then something happened that made me question the group dynamics. Ruth told me that she liked the red velvet cupcakes at the bakery near my house, and she asked me to buy her some. I was happy to do it, but the next day, when I brought the cupcakes and told her the price, she burst out laughing. Joy, my dear, I don't care how much they cost. That's your concern. Then she turned to Nora, showed her a picture of a cute but expensive skirt, and told her to order it for her. Hang on. Had she always been thinking it was acceptable to order us around like this? I don't understand why an innocent bookworm like my sister would hang around with this cunning clique. They don't study at all. During the test, while I was still randomly circling the answer, Ruth kept on kicking my chair and urging me to let her copy my work. And as soon as the teacher turned her back on us, she even snatched my answer sheet. Huh? What's with that attitude? I took a look around and saw both Nora and Nell were also copying another girl's paper against her will. Rude! After the test, Ruth came up to me, hissing. Have you forgotten our deal? Huh? Deal? What could it be? Well, I guess I would have to put up with Ruth for as long as I was Joy, so I could return everything to her in roughly the same condition after the gala. What I really should do now is just to enjoy this elite school life, right? So, I didn't join Ruth and her minions for lunch, but bought food from this super cool vending machine instead. They even had pizza. But the machine made these weird sounds. Ugh, I think my food was stuck. So I kicked and tapped it. But it still didn't work. You dare get into an altercation with the pizza machine? You must be starving. Oh my god. This basketball boy was the most handsome guy I'd ever seen in my life. I was too lost in his eyes to realize the dumb machine had finally delivered my lunch. This gorgeous guy then leaned towards me and my heart skipped. Oh, Cupid, I wish I was the one he picked up instead of the pizza. Here you go. Right before I could react, someone snatched the tray and pushed me aside to enter between us. Thanks, Hayden. Want to share lunch with me? Huh, excuse me? How could she steal both pizza and a boy from me? The boy took my pizza from her and said, Thanks, but I'd like to share this with this cute starving girl instead. I'll buy the drinks. Wait, was he asking me? Then yes, 100% yes. Leaving a furious Ruth behind us, we walked to the bench table nearby. So he's Hayden, the captain of the basketball team. We talked so much about our favorite comic books and even played basketball for a bit before classes. That was my best lunch ever. After school, I was about to leave when Ruth stopped me. Didn't anyone ever tell you not to mingle with Hayden? He's not wealthy. We have high standards about who deserves to be around us. Duh! Huh? She sure seemed to swoon over him earlier, but now that he'd turned her down, she decided he wasn't worthy? This girl's mindset really didn't sit well with me. As soon as I arrived home, I told Joy everything. You should listen to Ruth. Hayden must be bad news. I don't care what Ruth thinks. How come you do? Is it 'cause of this deal you have with her? Not your business, but stay away from Hayden. I don't want to get in trouble. Ugh, these vague hints were agitating me. What was it about? But whatever the deal between Joy and Ruth was, I wasn't going to let it get in the way of my blossoming romance with Hayden. Today, me and Hayden had arranged to meet at lunch again to play basketball. I excitedly walked out of art class just as the girl fell and dropped her painting set around my feet. I immediately picked them up for her, when all of a sudden, a boy's hand covered mine right before someone stamped their feet on our hands. It was Ruth. It was her who tripped up the poor girl, too. She did all that on purpose to hurt me, but Hayden got there just in time to save the day. What do you think you're doing? Feeling too embarrassed being caught red-handed, Ruth couldn't do anything but give me a spiteful look before leaving. I couldn't believe that Hayden did that for me. His hand was swollen, but he just kept checking if my hand was okay. How can Ruth be so horrible? Because she knows everyone's ugly secrets, and she uses them to control people. Joy, she knows your secret too, right? No. I'm not sure, but I don't care. No matter what that secret is, she's gone too far. Don't worry, I got your back. So will I. Oh, I'm Katie, by the way. From then on, I no longer hung out with Ruth and her minions. But I kept quiet about this to Joy as I didn't want her freaking out and making us switch back places early. The more time I spent with Hayden, the more I found myself liking him. I wanted to confess to him who I really am, but I can't. At least not yet anyway. Katie is really nice to me too, and she introduced me to her super sweet friends. Everything was just perfect, except my grades. Well, I didn't dare to tell Joy about this either. My study was pretty bad, and it literally ruined Joy's straight-A record. Meanwhile, Ruth, time after time, insisted that I was the one who had to do all her homework, research, and tests. But duh, I couldn't even finish mine. You know what I've got. Yeah? What exactly is that you have? What's all the threat about? Ruth was stunned seeing me talking back at her like that. Yep, that was it. I've had enough. After class, she waited at my locker and signaled me to follow her to the equipment room. Finally, I could know what my secret was. Ruth showed me a video on her phone of Joy sneakily checking her notes during an examination. Was she cheating? If our principal sees this, I'm sure your precious scholarship will be long gone. And what about that excellent student title of yours? So Ruth was using this to manipulate Joy. Does she do the same to everyone else? Do you think this would scare me? I don't think. I know. You don't want to lose everything, right? No, Ruth. It's you who's gonna lose. Do whatever you want with that clip, like I care. And so I walked away, leaving a fuming Ruth behind. To be honest, I was a bit scared. Well, I know scores and things like academic transcripts were so important to Joy. What if I destroyed it all? After my last class of the day, the thing that I feared the most came upon me. The principal called me to her office and showed me the video that proved that I cheated on a math exam. She was so disappointed in my horrible grades recently, she even asked if it was because I was too caught up in my dating life and the bad influence I called friends. But how am I supposed to tell her that it was just my own incompetence? Nothing to do with Joy or Hayden or my new friends. I just reached my room door when I heard Mom scolding Joy. The principal must have called her. It was all my fault. When Mom left the room, I could feel how angry and frustrated Mom was. Joy, I'm so sorry. I couldn't let Ruth have this hold over me. You anymore. I waited for Joy to take it out on me, but to my surprise, she was kinda happy. That's okay. I think I should thank you for that. I've never been brave enough to stand up for myself, although I was so tired of getting picked on all the time. I was so scared, but turns out being scolded by Mom isn't as bad as I thought. My homeroom teacher also called me, but she only gave me a warning and told me not to make the same mistake again. I've never felt this at ease before, Jade. I'm not the perfect Joy anymore. Then, Joy told me about the pressure she felt to be perfect. One time, she even got sick before the math test due to studying too much. Not having enough decent revision and being afraid of getting a bad grade, Joy cheated and was caught and recorded by Ruth as evidence. We finally understood each other and decided to teach Ruth a lesson to stop manipulating and taking advantage of others. We spied on Ruth and secretly recorded her. And guess what? Turned out she was not as wealthy as she always pretended to be. All the brand names she had were from the poor victims that she called friends. I also filmed Ruth forcing the top students to do homework and essays for the rich kids while she just sat idly to collect money. I was so ready to post these videos online, but Joy stopped me. She told me if we did this, we were just as bad as Ruth. Instead, she had a better idea. She sent the videos to Ruth and demanded her to delete all of the students' secrets. In exchange, we would delete all of hers. Ruth, of course, had no choice but to obey. Wow, how mature my sister is. My last day in Joy's life has arrived. I'm just gonna make the most of it before I hand the reins back to my sister. Honestly, I kinda miss my normal school and my friends. But what about Hayden? Will he still want to know me when he finds out I lied to him? I was looking around for Hayden when I saw some mean girls mocking Ruth for wearing a dress cheaper than theirs. So I walked straight up to them and whispered into their ears that I knew all their dirty secrets and they couldn't do anything else but storm off. Ruth gave me a coy look, mumbled a thank you, and then left. At that moment, a warm hand gently clasped mine. Hayden! Wow, you're so cool. I'm not that cool, Hayden. Actually, I have something I have to tell you. I then told him everything. From how I swapped identities with my twin sister to how I ruined her school life because of my childishness. You didn't ruin anything. Actually, you made things much better. So, since the pizza vending machine day till now, it has always been you, not Joy, right? Yeah, it's been me all along. That's all I needed to know. Then he pulled me in for the best kiss ever.